Hi, this is Marlene, and a warm welcome from Glasgow, Scotland to all around the world. In this series of Marlene and Friends, I'll be sharing with you the most amazing group of people who have all the skills and expertise to make our world one of health and peace for all who live here, humans and non-humans alike. My beloved friend this week is Dr. Anteneh Roba, who is a physician and humanitarian, works tirelessly in the USA and in his native Ethiopia and on issues of health and well-being for humans and non-humans alike. A lot of the Western diseases that Dr. Roba is treating in his clinic in Ethiopia is associated with abundance, and these diseases of affluence happen to be in urban areas in Ethiopia as opposed to the rural areas. They're happening to people who are financially well off. Starvation, hunger, or malnutrition because of lack of foods mostly happens in the rural areas to people who are very poor. Obviously, that's an issue, as we all know, of politics, economics, and social justice that come into play. However, the work that Dr. Roba has done to provide vegan meals for starving children in Africa is simply groundbreaking and heartwarming. You're all going to love and adore this human being. He's amazing. In this thought-provoking and heartwarming interview, Dr. Roba will be discussing with us animal slavery that's going on all over the world, not just human slavery caused by the food industry. That's growing, oh no. As far as Dr. Roba is concerned, every factory farm in the United States he sees is a dungeon where slaves are put in, and that's the way I see it too. I love Anteneh Roba, and I know you will too, so please share this interview with family, friends and colleagues. Hi, I'm Marlene Watson-Chara in Service for a Healthy World. My guest today is one of my favourite vegan doctors on the planet, Anteneh Roba, MD, who has a private practice in Fairfax, Virginia. Dr. Roba is also president and co-founder of International Fund for Africa, which is dedicated to helping both human and non-human animals in Africa. Through his organisation, he's worked to improve healthcare for children and has been instrumental in creating and upgrading medical services in Ethiopia. Hi, gorgeous doggy. Dr. Roba has also been working with government officials in an effort to improve the condition of homeless dogs in Ethiopia and is striving to assist equines and other working animals there. The work is just groundbreaking that you do through the IFA, and you've also been promoting the adoption of a plant-based diet across the African continent and actively working and supporting vegan organisations across Africa. I don't know what else to say, you're just incredible. So a big warm welcome from Scotland and from everybody around the world, and I love you to share your work and what we're doing. So
Thank you so much.
yeah, I don't even know where to start because you're one of the most gifted human beings I've had the pleasure to call my friend. The work you're doing in the world, caring for humans and non-humans alike, it's just for me unbelievable. I talk about being vegan to all and sundry, and people always respond, yeah, but Marlene, you always care about the animals, what about the people? But, for me and Anteneh, the same as you, most of us who care about animals, we also care about the humans. And your work is a perfect example. We feel this connection, and here you are with this amazing organisation that helps both humans and non-humans alike. So it's just incredible. Now, you were born in Ethiopia but brought up in the US, yeah?
Yes, correct.
I know you had an incredible career in emergency medicine, and you now practice functional preventative medicine in Houston in Virginia. Texas, yeah? Texas. So, in Texas, yeah. As a well-loved vegan doctor, I mentioned in the introduction that you founded the International Fund for Africa, which is an organisation that works with both animals and human beings, and you've been promoting veganism in Africa. What was the motivation and where did that come from? What a huge project to undertake.
Oh, that's a good question. Well, to be honest, I don't want to go into a long story about what made me decide to start the organization. But to give you a brief explanation, I really owe it to a little guy, an 9-pound little fur ball called Nikita, who was a Maltese dog that I adopted in late 1990s, and I fell in love with this little guy. And for some reason, he helped me make the connection between the commonality between humans and animals, non-human animals, and how similar we are on so many in so many respects. And also, he just helped me open up my heart to the suffering of others, including animals and human beings. And so he was really the cause for all of this. And I said to myself, I care for both. I care for humans.
Sure.
I care for animals. And a couple of years later, after I adopted him, I decided to start an organization in my home country where I went a couple of times before I started the organization, and I saw the suffering of both humans and non-human animals, and I thought, it's time to give back. I'm very, I was well-to-do at the time. I was a physician practicing and making decent money, and it was, most of my life it was all about myself and getting somewhere, and being a doctor is not easy. And so I felt it was time for me to give back. And so I went back to my country and saw that there was something I could do about it. So when I came back to the US in 2003, I talked to my cousin, and we decided to start this organization. By that time, I had become vegan. I had read Animal Liberation by Peter Singer, and it had changed my life. I read a couple of other books, and I had no idea the intensity and the viciousness of the cruelty against animals on the planet. And I decided that I was going to be a spokesman for these helpless animals, and also for those who are human but don't have a voice. And so we started this organization, and we started working and doing the best we can with the means we had.
I mean, it's just incredible. I could fill the whole series with just unbelievable work that you've done. You're such a humble human being. In fact, I'm so looking forward. We're going to have lunch and dinner together this month in San Francisco at the World Vegan Summit, Anteneh. You work so tirelessly to improve the healthcare, in particular in rural parts of Ethiopia, and you've been working with issues related, to dogs as well, trying to promote veganism. Do you feel you're making progress?
It's a challenge, to be honest.
Sure.
Africa is a vast continent, and Ethiopia is a very diverse and very complicated country, to say the least. But yeah, I think we are making a difference, especially since now I practice. I have a practice in Ethiopia, and we focus on prevention and on obesity. So I'm spreading the vegan message through that avenue, and why that might work is because I'm like fighting for telling people don't eat animals because they're sentient beings, and going into the complex philosophical reasoning behind it, which a lot of people, especially in Africa, would ignore. When I tell them that your heart is gonna stop, and you're gonna die because you're gonna suffer from cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and hypertension because of what you're eating, people listen, because people care about their own body. So in that respect, I think I will get traction. However, we're also sending out the message about kindness to animals and not eating them through our connections in Ethiopia. We have a lot of students in the various veterinary schools that are really, really pro animals and want to change the world, and so we are supporting them so that they can go out and teach schools and elementary schools on how not to engage in destructive behavior and cruelty towards animals. The other thing we're doing is we're feeding at this point 600 hungry children every day vegan.
I know, I was just about to say that to you. What an incredible program that you've set up for these kids. It's unbelievable, unbelievable.
600, and we're increasing it by another 200 soon. And all of these kids are fed vegan food every
Yeah.
day. And these kids come from very, very poor families that have that, these kids sometimes don't eat once a day, let alone 3 meals a day. And they are fed healthy, balanced vegan food every day. And to me, that is incredible. And not only do we feed them, but we take care of their eyes. And now we're starting a dental program for them.
Wow.
And the little girls that are getting close to their puberty and are developing into women. We help them with their sanitary issues that is an issue
Sure.
in Ethiopia. So we're not only just feeding them vegan food, but we're also taking care of their needs as far as health needs because these kids are malnutritioned. They're not fed. They're not well fed, and if you don't get enough food, you can't think, you can't work, you
No,
can't learn, you
exactly.
can't. Yeah, and so it really affects the society as a whole if you have malnourished kids growing up, and so change that phenomena and the more support we get, the more we are expanding the program. We are opening up a bakery, two bakeries now,
Wow.
uh, and the bakery is basically um, going to be used to pay for the program. So it's an income generating kind of program, which is the first of its kind in the country. The Ethiopian government, it's the agency that deals with non-governmental NGOs is very strict,
Wow.
and they don't allow income generating kind of activities by and large. And they've allowed us because they've seen how well we're doing and how extremely helpful the program is. And the American embassy in Addis and the Australian embassy in Addis, they've been awesome and very helpful and have given us support. And so the whole process is getting better and bigger. And so those are some of the ways that we've been able to help spread the word. And until recently, we were supporting some organizations, vegetarian organizations in Ghana and in Togo and a few other countries. But because of financial reasons, we've
Yeah.
kind of slowed that down. So it's at the end of the day, it's all about funding. If you get the funding, there's so much you can do, but there's
Yeah.
limited resources.
Of course, I know. I agree with you on a couple of things that you just touched on there at the beginning of the that last question. We're the same, and I think it really matters to everybody in the world. People that are teaching natural healthcare, like yourself, like us, and everything. That's how we get people to go vegan too. Antenna, they don't come to me because they want to learn about veganism. They come because they're sick. But then when they connect the two after their consciousness is aware, our students leave as a vegan. They don't come as a vegan. So that's how we're helping to grow the movement here. And the other thing just about the work you're doing for these kids is phenomenal because I know some of them are orphans with their parents having lost their parents to AIDS. So, you're doing all that unbelievable work for these kids. And also you were involved in having gardens and getting them learning about growing food and
Yes,
that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We're opening a couple of gardens where they can, they're taught on how to produce food themselves and
Mm-hmm.
then use that food to feed the school. So yeah, we're doing that too. I mean, our projects and our ideas are, awesome, but it's being in a country like Ethiopia with the restrictions that exist, plus with the financial
Sure.
limitation, makes it very hard. But we keep going because it's our life's mission.
Absolutely, and I think everybody like yourself that does this work, it's the same, and it is picking up a bit momentum. But we were talking the other day just about how people say, well, humans do cause all human suffering, and I believe that humans cause all animal suffering as well. And And I know something that's hugely passionate for you is about slavery. And Bill and I, my husband and I, in our coaching courses, when students come to study with us about microbiota health coaching, we teach them also. I mean, the food slavery now in the world is just unbelievable. And we actually believe there's more slaves now than ever before. So, you know, I know you went out to Ghana in 2010, was it? And you visited the dungeons where slavery began. Would you like to just touch on that and look at where we've come from and where we're going? We're going in the wrong direction again, you know?
Yeah, in 2009, I was invited to speak at the Second World Congress, Vegetarian West African Congress in Accra, Ghana. And I went with my cousin. And after the conference ended, we had a few days left and we wanted to be tourists.
Sure.
I love because my father was acting ambassador many, many years ago. And so I've lived there in the summers a couple of years. And so I like the country. I like the people, very kind, nice people. So, you know, it was a pleasure to be there. And we decided to do the touristy things. And so one of the places we went to is the Elmina Castle on the Gulf Coast of West Africa. And we went to this castle. And when we got to the city, it's a beautiful seaside. It looks like a seaside resort until you go inside.
Yeah.
And then you find the grisly details of what happened there. But we had no idea what to expect. We just went there to see. And when this tour guide took us in, he started explaining to us what happened. And it was very, very painful, to say the least. I mean, I don't want to go into the details,
Sure.
but it was an eye opener for me.
Yeah.
And for some reason that day, even though, you know, I came into the animal rights world through dogs. Dogs were my guides.
Yeah.
Here's one right here.
I know, he's gorgeous.
But really, I never made the connection between farm animal suffering and human suffering as much as it happened that day when I went to see this place. And I made this connection, which is very weird. For the first time I saw in those dungeons, I mean, I imagined all the people that were put in those two dungeons that I saw.
Yeah.
And then I made that connection on, you know, from the pictures I've seen. I've never been to a factory farm, but I've seen pictures and how they're you know, put together.
That's right.
Like sardines.
Yeah.
And I made a connection, and I really, really felt sorry for those people that suffered 300-400 years ago under, you know, and then of course what's happening here every day on this planet, everywhere, every couple of 100 miles in the United States and Europe, and is soon becoming like that in Africa.
I know.
We are enslaving animals and torturing them. These are, you know, Auschwitz of our days.
Yeah.
And that connection was so painful. It was so heavy on my heart to realize that what we did to these human beings 300-400 years ago is acceptable today, and we have them everywhere, and it's normal.
I know.
And that was really painful, and because of that, I started doing research about factory farming and how it's coming to Africa. And actually, I'm co-writing a book with an awesome guy, Ebert, who is Rainer Ebert, who is a philosopher at Rice, and we're co-authoring a book called Animal and Her Africa and Her Animals. And I have a chapter about factory farming in Africa, and it was all inspired by what I saw in Elmina Castle.
I mean, you know, even apart from that, Anteneh, I mean, I don't know, sometimes like you, I'm the same, because my heart, you know, the sensitivity I have for animals, I love them. They're the same as us. They feel, they think, you know, they feel pain, they're conscious, you know. But you look now, all the metabolic syndrome that's all over the world, you know, I mean, human beings are going to have to start connecting the fact that, oh, really, that's probably because they're torturing and eating all these dead animals every day, and it's, you know, it's creating all this unbelievable disease. cities. So, it takes huge vision and courage and planning to bring about the type of work that you're doing there as well, and I feel the same too, and I'll never give up, and I'll never stop. But you've had such incredible, you've had the Gandhi Peace Award, the Society of Peace Circle of Compassion Award, the Certificate of Merit Award, the Ministry of Health of Ethiopia. I mean, I could go on and on about how loved you are with the work that you do in the world. It's just incredible. And economically, I know in Africa, just as you've said, the country has grown as well, so it's improved in a lot of ways. But unfortunately, the environment with the civilization and the improvement in growth, they're starting to eat, as you say, all these animals as well. So, you still have all your beautiful beans and pulses and grain, but now they're having the chicken and the fish and the beef and the dairy on top of that. So, I mean, one of the things that has drastically changed is the chronic disease related to nutrition, especially with diabetes and everything else out there. So how can we, apart from just shouting and saying, stop it, we all just have to keep going, don't we? I mean, African countries now are facing, the problems that we've had for decades over here. So, the land mass is obviously the same because they're farming so much now. Loads of companies, American companies, European companies, they're out there, they're spreading out factory farms. So we need to keep building an army, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that is what I'm seeing in Africa. The two things that that's bothering me is one, like you said, we are African societies who, by and large, for centuries have been eating plant-based foods for the
Sure.
most part, are now switching to
Yeah.
the Western European and American diets, and because of that, the chronic diseases, like you said, are
Yeah.
beginning to become a factor. And I'm seeing it as a physician working in Ethiopia right now. There are tons and tons of people who are coming to my clinic with high blood pressure and diabetes and erectile dysfunction and obesity, and they're asking me, help me. We're sick, and I relate that to their diet. And the good thing about it is there's a small shift in consciousness, at least in Ethiopia, that I see, that people are beginning to make the connection between
Right.
food, bad food and diet and health. So at least from that perspective, eventually things might start clearing up. And I don't stop talking, by the way. When I'm on radio, I go out and tell. I mean, I like a couple of weeks ago, I was invited to speak on a radio station that's widely heard across the country, and I flat out came out and said, "Don't eat meat. It's not
Good.
healthy." Not not only did I say it's not healthy, but I also said it's not ethical, and it's wrong to torture animals.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of people that didn't like it and
Of course.
complained and all that, but I don't care. I mean, I am going to speak
Yeah.
the power. I'm going to tell people what I think. And so, only thing you can do as an individual, or as an organization or as a group, is speak up,
Sure.
and eventually, I hope we'll reach a critical mass and things will change. But in Ethiopia, I know health-wise, people are becoming more aware of it, so that'll make a difference. But the other problem I see is that factory farming is coming.
I know.
And I'm speaking about it, and again, I mean, like, factory farming, writing about factory farming in Africa is almost like a taboo to some degree, because it is being pushed by the West, by all the
Sure.
organizations, by the European Union, by individual countries, by the American USAID, as a means of dealing with hunger and poverty. Bringing factory farming will make a difference, and the reality is totally different when you do the research and
Yeah.
learn about it. Actually, the opposite. And but how do you fight organizations and countries this powerful
I
and
know.
sending them, trying to send the message that factory farming, the same thing that has destroyed, tons and tons of land all over Europe and Africa and the United States,
Yeah.
is being instituted in Africa. and it's going to cause more havoc, climate change wise, and of course the suffering of animals. But you do what you got to do, and this chapter that I'm coming out with, hopefully the book we're going to have it distributed to all the universities in Africa, and so we plan to do a speaking engagement to go to all the African countries at the universities and speak about these issues. And when they ask about factory farming, my chapter is very strongly against it, and the governments will not like it, and I might get in trouble for it, but I don't care.
I love your heart and soul, Anteneh Roba. We must have been brother and sister in the last life. I'm the same as you, We're moving to Ireland soon, and the place we're going to be doing a whole big educational centre is right in among 500 dairy and beef farmers round about me. It's a huge area for beef and dairy, But back to Africa, basically climate change is beginning to become an issue there as well, right?
Absolutely. Huge problem.
Yeah.
Water scarcity is becoming a huge problem. There are going to be national crises in different countries. There are countries in Africa that share one river, 6, 7, 8 countries sharing one major river, which is dwindling, and it's going to cause, it's going to be the future oil,
Sure, yeah.
The problem caused water is going to be the next one, where you're going to have territorial fights and fights between countries because of lack of water.
And I mean, anybody with a brain knows it takes like 2,000 gallons of water to make 1 pound of beef and hardly any water to make a pound of grain. So, we all just have to keep going. But the thing is, Anteneh, we've got so many great people in the revolution now, right? We've got great people this month in San Francisco, and Professor Gary Francione, our friend, who is just doing amazing work too. I know they've all been working hard to get this moving. So we just have to keep believing and pushing forward and changing as many lives as we can. And you're just an incredible, unbelievable human being. Your humanitarian work is just beyond belief, really. And like you, sadly, there's so much wealth out there in Africa too. And it just happens to be with the people who don't feel the connection of anything. They don't feel the connection of the planet, the animals, the humans. It's just all about power, greed, money. And the bottom line is there's no pockets in a shroud. Once we go, right? So we should be trying to do the best while we're here. So, I mean, I don't know. You've wakened thousands of people up to this through your educational programs too, and I know there's many wonderful people in the world doing the work, so that's what I focus on. Sometimes when I feel what fails me, what saves me really when all else fails, what sustains me every day, it's my faith. My faith is the one thing that keeps me going, knowing that tomorrow will be better. There's another person coming on board. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And it's growing.
Yeah.
It's growing.
Yeah.
There's growing question about it, and we're going to see. I mean, you'd be surprised. Even in Africa, there's so many organizations, so many individuals who have basically no money, no resources, yet they go out every day trying to make a difference. So yeah, I mean, it's maybe we won't see it in our lifetime, but I think change will come.
Yeah,
it will come.
Change will come. It will come. Well, with leaders like you in the world, it's not possible for it not to happen. So, and 3 weeks I think we're all together in People's Park with the first vegan walk ever, marching through there, feeling proud for the animals, and that's what makes me jump out of bed every morning. So I'm so excited to be there with you all, and you are going to come over here to Ireland because I need you to help support me and amongst 500 farmers.
To come, we'll arrange it where sometime when I could come, because I go to Ethiopia and I pass through Europe all the time. So
when are
I would love to go.
When are you next back in Ethiopia?
Next week.
Next week. Okay.
I'm there for 2 weeks and a half, and I'll be back.
And you're back again.
For the
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Roba, I want to send you love from everybody that's listening around the world to this series, and let's get together and make the plan in a few weeks' time when we're in San Francisco together. Lots of love and thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much. Take care.
You too.